Today on Gamer's Couch,
Favor of the Pharaoh. Pharaoh.
hello, welcome to the couch.
Hello.
It's Sunday.
We survived Spiel. Actually, I survived Spiel because someone else chickened out by pretending to be sick and stayed at home.
I didn't chicken out. I was so annoyed with my head because migraines.
Someone had to carry all those games. All the game, well, not technically not all the games, but enough games to keep us covered for, the coming years. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I have to announce to you that we'll be doing these for the coming weeks.
For a while, yeah.
Yes.
We even managed to beat our last year's total score. Like, I thought when he was telling me what's on the lists and what's interesting of the new games that are coming out, it's like, yeah, we will probably not have as many games as last year.
Yeah.
That number was 26 last year. Well, I was goddamn wrong. We ended up at 31 games this year, so you can imagine how many hours are going on or are passed here playing, and how many games are coming up that are totally brand new. So yeah, by the way, if you're new to the channel or to the series, let
Welcome.
me introduce us. This is Daniel, my sweet husband, and I'm Sarah, and I'm the artist behind Pinselgeschichten. And each Sunday we do the board game videos.
While drinking coffee.
While drinking coffee and being
Cheers.
super goofy, but still hopefully passing some valuable information.
If you're new and haven't figured out by now that we're super professional about what we're doing, well, we are not really.
We're unique, let's put it this way. So we start off every week with gameplay and rules. That's his part to explain to you, just to give you a rough overview of what the game that we have on the couch is all about. Then we talk about what we liked or not liked about the game, and we finish up with funny stories and experiences. And sometimes if we're super goofy, there might be bloopers, so check out the video description below if there's bloopers in this one. I hope not, but still, who knows. Anyways, let's start and tell us all about the Pharaoh. The favor of the Pharaoh, not the Pharaoh itself.
All right. So, while departing the victory points of the medieval age, we are going further back to the good old times in ancient Egypt and try to win the favor of the Pharaoh by throwing dice at people. Or, well, actually throwing dice at the table and then trying to get closer to the Pharaoh. Yeah, the game comes with a whole bunch of these little nice guys, and what we try to do is to win more dice to get even further up to the point where you may grab the queen, which eludes me right now because probably someone sorted it over here.
You said I should put it in with the numbers. I haven't.
No, I don't see her. There's the queen. So you have a bunch of these little guys on the table, and each one usually gives you a bonus, either additional dice to roll or a way to modify the dice that you have rolled. On your turn, you start with at least 3 dice, and that's what this symbol means. So if you start, you grab 3 red dice, roll them, and then you have to lock at least one of them. Each player has one of these nice little pyramids. And they're, well, just to remind you that the dice in there are locked and may not be modified. So roll your 3 dice, lock at least one, but you may lock more than one, and try to meet conditions to get other dice. What conditions, I hear you ask silently over the internet? Well, there are these whatever cardboard bars lying out, and they have 2 sides, the A side and the B side, and as with every vinyl
The B-side is always better.
The B-side is better. Well, no, not technically, no. So you have these bars. At the top you have the 7 of a kind bar, and on top here will always be the queen. So you can grab this tile if you roll, well, 7 of a kind, which is difficult at the beginning if you're starting with just 3 dice. So you kind of try to work your way up to get closer to the queen in order to, well, make an impression and maybe gain the favor of the Pharaoh. Below that, almost no surprising, there's stuff like 6 of a kind and 5 of a kind and so on. But there's also different conditions on here. For example, the 7 of a kind bar also has 3 of a kind and 2 pairs. Or the total number of dots must be 40 or higher, which is also pretty difficult to reach with 3 dice only. So let's see what we can reach actually with 3 dice. The lowest bar is this one, and this has 3 of a kind, a pair, all even, or a value of 10 or higher combined. The B side, by the way, would be also 3 of a kind, but all dice must be greater or equal to 4, all dice must be odd, or you must get to a 15 or higher number with all 3 dice. So that is a possibility to get. Even if you have more than 3 dice, you can still fulfill the conditions to grab the little, well, guys that are these little plaques that are put under them. If you see this, each of these bars has little dots up here indicating how many dice are necessary to get there. And yes, you may have guessed this. The 3 of a kind bar starts with 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, where the queen will be. Each of these little cards also has these dots up here. So this is, for example, a 3-dot card. So this may only be placed in the yellow areas of the 3-dot bars, which sounds terribly complicated, but it is actually not. You just have these all laying out there and then matching tiles under them. There's 3 different kinds of tiles. These yellow ones you've already seen, and they either give you an additional red die to start, some give you a different die, like this white die, and I'll tell you about that later. This one gives you a yellow die, and so on. And this one,
it falls down.
This one gives you the, try to reach it under the couch die. The second tile are these blue ones, which typically either give you something to modify a dice or directly allow you to modify a dice. So for example, this one says you may add 1 pip, 2 pip, or 3 pips to any die that you own, as long as this die actually has a side with that many pips on. So yes, you can turn a die that shows a 3 up to a 6, but if it is already showing a 6, there's no 9 on there, so you're prevented from doing that. Others say something like you can, turn one die down by 1 and another one up by 1, for example. And last but not least, the third type of card are these red cards, which are a one-time use only. So the yellow and blue cards, you use them either at the start of your turn or during your turn, and by using them you just tap them. Sorry, was it?
Exhaust.
You just indicate that you use
rotate
that you use the tile, and then you can reuse them the next time it's your turn. These red ones are a one-time use, and for example, you can spend this one to get another starting die and to get these 2 of these purple Scarabaeus markers, which are coincidentally these here. So what do? Well, you can spend them on your turn, and they have 2 different effects. One just adds 1 to any die, and the other one lets you re-roll a die. Fairly simple. So if you have, for example, an ability that gives you 1 of these each turn, that's pretty neat, because you always have a chance to draw either another pip or something else. And so all these tiles go on. Some add dice at the end of your turn, and for some, for example this one, You can only use that after you rolled your dice, but it will come up always as a 5 on that turn, and then you may either choose to use it as a 5 or just re-roll it for the next turns and use it for something else if you're not happy with the 5. And obviously there's different stuff over there as well. Others are tremendously useful, like these one that just allow you to turn the dice on the other side, for example, turning a 3 into a 4 or 1 into a 6. And last but not least, let's talk about the different dice. So the red ones are the most common and standard ones, your typical 1 to 6 die. The white ones are also standard dice in terms of how many pips are on here, but if you roll them, you may modify them, but you must lock them immediately, so you may not re-roll these unless you have an ability that allows you to re-roll a white die. And then there's more stuff on the floor. There's these 6 colorful dice that either have special icons on there or a different kind of pip distribution. For example, I think the orange die was called the Surf, which only goes up to 4. Then the other one, the bright yellow one, goes only from 4 to 6, which I think is an what was it called? I forgot. It's something aristocratic. It's not that terribly important, but just know there's different dice with different pips on them. And then there's dice with special icons on them. For example, this blue die has one side on here that has the 1 pip and counts as a 1 if you want to. However, it also has an asterisk that allows you to turn any other die, including this one, to a side that you wish to do. And you can re-roll them and do that multiple times if you're lucky enough to roll these. The green one is even better, as it allows you to turn 2 dice to whatever side you want. And so on. Purple one, for example, allows you to change a face of a die as the other ones, but also has a special ability in terms of if you lock it with that side up, you may use a tile of another player as long as you don't own it by yourself. In general, that goes for all these tiles. You're only allowed to own one of these in terms of your own. Well, there's only one queen, but let's say you have the, well, it's all bad examples. Let's say you have some, let's say you have the farmer and there are multiple farmers out there. You're not allowed to get a second farmer because everybody may only have one tile of that type. You're obviously allowed to buy more 3 pip tiles, so it's not about the category, it's just about that specific tile. And yeah, that is pretty much it. So you start rolling and accumulating dice, and as you've seen, you actually have a lot of control about the faces of your dice. You just have to kind of cleverly assign your special abilities to do all that. Until someone buys this card, the Queen, which also gives you a die on any side as you wish to, and will give you this little wooden Pharaoh statue. Now, starting with that turn, other players still get a chance to get in front of the Pharaoh before you by topping your roll. So let's say I got to the Queen with 7 4s. So what I would do is then use my little pyramid and indicate down here on the 7 that I have gotten the Queen with 7 4s. Now, starting from me, the other players still have a chance to get that away from me by either rolling more 4s, so 8, 9 or something, and then kind of passing on the Pharaoh statue, or by going higher. So, for example, 7 5s would be enough to do that as well. Still, if I bought the Queen, I get another roll after everybody else had his rolls to win the Pharaoh's favor back if I have lost it in between. And yeah, that's the game. He who has this little Pharaoh miniature at the end wins the game.
So can you quickly tell us how many players and how long it's supposed to go, the game?
No.
Please, be nice.
No.
You don't get any more coffee if you don't.
Well, so this is, I'm pretty sure, 1 to 4, 2 to 4, sorry. Well, 1 to
Playing against the Pharaoh.
If you like rolling dice against yourself, it's 2 to 4, starting ages 13 and up, and it goes for approximately 45 minutes, says the box, and I think that's how long we played for a 2-player game.
2-player game was a bit faster, but I think for 4 players this is fairly accurate. So yeah, that now you know how to play the game. Now let us tell you what we think about it. So like and dislike, and I'm gonna start.
I know, because I've been talking the entire time.
Correct.
Please start.
Now,
Go
so
ahead.
oh gosh, so this is a brand new game. It was just released at Essen, so I didn't hear anything about it beforehand, and I didn't really take a lot of time to surf the net for what games are coming out and stuff. So it was a surprise when you brought it home.
Actually, let me quickly interject here. And we also haven't played or owned To Court the King, which is apparently based on. But I understand the major difference there is that this just comes with way more tiles to modify your dice or bring additional dice and a way to randomize those.
Yeah. So when we opened up the box, I was fairly surprised, and that in a nice way, how the insert is done. So we had a tiny bit of trouble figuring out how to separate those so that they go into the sections perfectly. But once we had the cardboard distribution figured out, this is an awesome game to be playable right out of the box. So I really like that. Also, the cardboard is fairly sturdy when it comes to, there won't be a lot of wear and tear, I guess. Pips and die production itself is very well done too. So all the components are just nice to touch. Artwork-wise, they're nothing fancy, but I don't think that the game requires fancy artwork. So I don't mind that it's rather simple, but well executed. So for the game itself, we had a tiny bit of trouble getting into the first game, but that is due to, and you're probably going to elaborate on that, the manual. It wasn't perfect. We had a few hiccups, but they were definitely solvable with 1 2-minute video that was on the channel for Busier Games. So they answered the main question there, so we were good to go. Other than that one hiccup, I thought it was fairly easy to teach. At least you didn't seem to have any trouble, and on my end it was very simple and very fast to learn. And then you just go for it. What I really like for the game, and that's one of the biggest pluses, benefits, or advantages, whatever, choose your word, is replayability. So when you set up the board, one player just rolls a die, and that determines what side of the bars you're going to use, A or B. And also which of the cardboard pieces you're gonna put in which spot. So I really like that it changes up things. And if that is not enough for you, there's a randomizing app, which I really like, that it's just provided with a game that you could really, well, have a lot of replayability. And, well, other than that, every game's different, because how lucky are you rolling dice, right? Are you good? Are you bad? Anyway. So we played it once with 3 people, and then all the other games we played just the 2 of us. And there was no big difference for me, like if I liked more players more or just preferred the 2-player game. So they were fairly equal, I'd say. Also, kind of equal on the downtime. There is a bit of downtime for the other player, just because you have to figure out which die you're gonna lock in, what's best for you, and it might take a minute there, but it's not too long. It's a bit of downtime.
And the other players don't have anything to do.
Yeah, so you can just maybe cheer or insult the other person, but other than that, there's not much to do. Just waiting until it's your turn again, drink coffee, have some snacks, whatever. But I didn't mind because this is actually a game that you can play while you're chatting about other things. At least the players that have the downtime, they can have a conversation about anything and then just stop when you roll die and then continue. So it's actually a game when you're kind of used to it that you could have a podcast with or something. So it's more of that section. Well, the game naturally comes with no player interaction other than when you have the favor of the Pharaoh role kind of thing. But yeah, well, I don't think it needs it. So yeah, that's pretty much my 2 cents. How about you?
No more sense?
No more cents. No more money.
Yeah, as I said already, we haven't played the smaller version of that, but my understanding is one of the big criticisms there was that it is too predictable due to the lack of different tiles. And as you said, I totally agree. There's a lot of variability, replayability in here, just by randomizing things up. Yeah, as I said, each one of these has a little number up here, so you can roll for each individual space or use the app for that, which I think is fairly nice. And I also agree on production quality. I also do very much like these custom dice. They're nice to roll, they're nice to look at. The
print is done well.
The clear ones are really nice. So that and they just feel nice to roll. They're not too small, which kind of it's a weird statement, but for a dice rolling game, having nice dice is a kind of nice thing to do. The only thing that may take some time is the setting up, the get your bars ready and rolling all that. So maybe you want to use the app for that. If you're as impatient as I am. And in regards to impatient, yeah, the first time we played this, we kind of literally read the manual while playing, and I think at one point it essentially says, and you roll your dice, and as long as you don't lock them, they're active dice, and then it says in another sentence, and you may modify or re-roll them through special actions, which kind of. So how do I reroll them? And yeah, it wasn't as clear that you just keep on rolling and have to lock one, and just as long as there's dice on the table that you may roll from the pool you've created, you just keep on rolling. You only have to lock one per turn, which then again
that was the hiccup I was talking about.
The busy video covered pretty neat. Also, nice for them to have that up. It's only 2 minutes long as a quick rules explanation. Unfortunately, I saw it after I read the manual.
Yeah,
Then again, it helped. So
yeah.
it did the job. Yeah, it's not criticism, but so this little dude and these pyramids are as far as what you get in terms of theme. So yes, the tiles all have some little artwork on here, which are nice, but I would say look a bit generic, and there's not. It doesn't feel that much like a big theme tie-in. There's some lighter stuff, like some of the tiles say burial, whatever, and that's a red card that you have to literally bury or turn over to use the effect. But that's as far as it goes. And to be honest, as this is a quick and simple game, I don't mind too much that this isn't a really rich theme thing in doing so. And this could have been anything. It doesn't necessarily need to be a Pharaoh tied to. So if you're looking for something ancient Egypt kind of thing and hoping for some deep lore or deep tie into historical facts, this is probably not the game you want to play. But if you look for a game where you roll a bunch of plastic onto the table and try to work out a strategy that works for you, this very much is so. Actually, I was surprised how how strategic this is in terms of the dice rolling. So while it sounds like very luck based, it really isn't, due to the fact that you have so many options to modify your dice. You may not always. So a turn usually for me isn't I pick that tile that I want to have, but it's more of, okay, let's roll and see how can we optimize that to get any tile that is at least in a higher tier and brings me forward. But yeah, some of these thoughts are, okay, do I want to bring the die in now, or do I want to save it because I can turn it to a face that immediately allows me to lock it if I just roll crap, or how long do I try to keep the blue tiles unused in my turn, because some of them say you may use this on as many dice as you want, which well, this is super powerful. But let's say you have a tile that says add 1 or 2 pips to as many dice as you want. So you kind of want to do that in a roll where you have all of them in range, and, as long as you can lock at least 1 die, maybe keep it for the next turn. So there's a lot of thoughts that goes into each turn, which then again also goes into the downtime thing, because literally other players have nothing to do on your turn. They so the last turns might take some time while you're trying to roll your 8 or 9 dice, and it slows down a bit, because at that point you start thinking, okay, if I use this now, I can use that later, and maybe I roll this, and then maybe that. So I wouldn't say this is a difficult game if you were AP prone, but just be aware that as it is quick to play, but then again it isn't, especially with 4 players, and if all of them are like that, it might drag out a little bit. Yeah, but that's pretty much I've got to say on this. It's a very cool, very quick to play. Kind of
quick for us because we don't obsess about what die we're gonna lock in at one point. Yes, we put thought into it, but at one point we just say, okay, I'm just gonna go for it, and that point is fairly early on with us.
I would place it in terms of time commitment and accessibility still below something like Ticket to Ride. But above certainly things like Quicks or Love Letter, our typical dinner games. And I'm looking forward to try this out with our parents, because I'm pretty sure that is something they'd enjoy too, because it's again simple to play. And we used to play Yahtzee a lot when I was a kid, so I think that is right up their alley, and it is like Yahtzee on steroids with special abilities to modify the stuff that you want to do.
Yeah. So let's rate. Do you have your rating prepared, or do you have to think a bit?
It gets 2 stars. 3 asterisk and 1 pip. If I could read what's on the dice. But, yeah.
Well, on my very personal scale from 1 to awesome, it's an 8.5. It gets 1 point deducted for the manual kind of first.
I should learn drinking. Yes,
next year.
Please continue.
That's it's Sippy Cup for you, not only for me. So it gets 1 point deducted because of the manual thing and the really unclear wording.
Maybe it was just us, but
no.
I mean, we had
three of us with very different opinions and very different ways of reading it came all to the same conclusions. Like, it's contradictory. We don't know, but again, it's just 1 point deduction because there was a video. It was available. It was super short, and it actually just right away answered that one question, and it's kind of an important one. And it loses half a point because of the downtime if you don't have the group that can really entertain themselves with a bit of chatting, or if you're not a podcast listener, maybe then the downtime is a bit dragging on for you. So yeah, not for us so much because we're weird people, and that's why it's only half a point. So let's go into funny stories and experiences.
Then again, you could almost reward half a point extra for the insert.
No, it got 2 points. I actually tallying them up. I'm not just putting out a number there. I really like the insert.
In case I showed this, but in case you didn't see it, this is clear plastic, so this is really sturdy. It's it's really nice. As you said, once we figured out actually how the randomizing goes, because for the first game there's a suggested setup. Once you know how the randomizing goes and what to look for in the cards, it isn't that difficult to sort them in.
Yeah, and they fit in there perfectly.
Yeah,
so.
these,
Good job.
The slots all have different sizes, so it's kind of, if you don't know what you're doing, it's like, this doesn't fit well. Maybe I'll get to that bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it worked for us.
So we played this game 4 times by now. Once with 3 people, all the others were just the 2 of us. And I haven't won a game so far. But we had 2 games that were tied. Just the 2 of us games.
Just the 2 of us. Yeah,
Tina won the first game, the 3-player game. Then we had the...
Well, that doesn't count.
Of course it does.
I didn't win.
Yeah. So...
Then
I don't give a shit.
Then it doesn't count.
It does. It does in my book. So she won the first game, then we had a tied game, then you won, and then we had a tied game again.
But it was always close. It was,
very close. And it was always in the face. I got the Pharaoh and the Queen. And then he just... I think you had more dice both of the times. I don't know if you went for a higher number once. I don't remember. But it was very, very close. And it was like, then I had to roll again if I could win the Pharaoh back. And it was like 1 or 2 dice missing. So it was super close. And I'm not mad, but I've been telling... No, not mad.
I never win in this
I was
game.
whiny. I was whiny. It's like, I wanted to win a game before we shoot it on the couch. And yeah, well, no. Didn't happen, but I'm gonna keep trying.
Both of us won at the same time.
Yeah. That's what you say. I know.
It's a tie.
Maybe it will sink in. Maybe we both lost.
Actually, no. I don't lose.
You don't lose. Yeah, right.
Otherwise it wouldn't count.
Yeah, sure. So there haven't been any funny stories with the game, but overall just very good experience, lovely time spent, and I think we played it 4 times this week, right? We didn't play it last week, so pretty much every night, because we gotta get a few games under our belt before we can tell you something about the game. So I just really liked it when I knew, dinner was done and now we're gonna play, and Pharaoh is the first one on the table, so it's just...
Grabbing a glass of wine and
chatting.
That's what I meant with play length. That is kind of perfect for, we just had something to eat, grab a glass of wine, play around, and
so for the 2 of us, we ended up something 25 to 30 minutes playing. So I think 45 only really goes for either the first game or a 4-player game. So I think if we would had a 3-player game after a couple of 2-player games where we already tested and knew the game, I think we would have been pretty much 35 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So it was it fits in the spot between the dinner games and the really heavy games.
And
it's a nice spot.
And I wouldn't be shocked if this gets an expansion over the next year which just introduces more tiles or different dice. Actually, the symbols on the dice are explained in the manual, so maybe they might change stuff there, which I could imagine, or that you get a card that modifies what the symbols mean or something like that. There's a lot of things you could do with this, but I think the base box in terms of size and content is certainly a full game.
Yes.
So yes, the box is pretty big for a dice chucking game, but there's a bunch in there. that might keep you playing for quite some time.
Yeah, I'm very much with you. I hope that they're not going for a 5th player if they should ever do an expansion, because they have to take care of the downtime thing. With a 5th player, I think it would drag on too long.
I would say the sweet spot here might be 3 players. Mm-hmm. Two is nice as a duo, but 3 players adds a little bit to the scarcity of these tiles. So what you may have not seen up here, there's a little number that says how many tiles are below that, and on the topmost tile there's only 1. And then it goes on player count -2. So in a 4-player game you would have 2 there. Then the next one is player count -1, and so on. So I would say in terms of tile availability, 3 or 4 player is more interesting. Then again, downtime with 4 players. So that's why I would say 3 player for me personally is the sweet spot there. Yeah, but I would agree. If they want to expand that maybe gives the other player something to do instead of just waiting for you to finish your role and finish strategizing. Except maybe for the you can't really do that simultaneously, because if someone picks away a card that you were rolling for and that's gone, it's kind of not working either.
Yeah, but I think it would benefit from maybe some more different kind of tiles coming up in the future. Just stay with the 2 to 4 players, but just maybe add a different kind of category there, maybe a 5th one with tiles or something. So there's a lot of possibility there, but I think it's actually worth to have an expansion later.
And maybe it's also something that gives a little bit more interaction between players. Mm-hmm. Right now, the game as it is, the only interaction you will get with other players is they took away a tile and they took away the Pharaoh and initiated the end of the game with that final roll-off, as they say. But there's nothing to really mess with the other. As I said, there's a die that lets you use the power of another player, but
you don't take it away and you don't render it used for the other player. They can still use it in their turn.
And that might be something for you, or it might be a plus if you're not into the I don't want to fight with other players at the table with everybody being armed with little plastic pieces in hand, but maybe it doesn't always have to be something conflict oriented by I'm going to take that tile away from you, or you're not going to roll that die, but maybe something that just interacts with other players and maybe keeps them involved while it's your turn.
Yeah. I think that wraps up the video nicely, don't you think?
I think so.
All right. So let us know in the comment section below if you are, either interested in that game or if you even have played it. Would be very curious to know what you thought about the game. And if you have any questions or other comments, please also leave them in the comment section. And while you're at it, thumbs up, share, and subscribe if you feel like it. We very much appreciate that.
Thumbs up, share is like something.
You don't want a thumbs up chair. That's something different. But do all the good YouTube stuff if you feel like it. And we're going to see you next Sunday with another game on the couch. And if you're curious...
Probably a new one.
Yeah, probably. Very likely. If you're curious what game it's going to be, check out next Thursday's Talk O'Clock. I tease there what video we're going to shoot. So take good care, have fun, have a great weekend, play games, do lovely stuff, and enjoy. Bye.
Goodbye. Bye. Super creepy goodbye.
Bye. Cookie Monster, bye? Was it not Cookie?
Oh, quick.
Leave. Now.